What's up, everybody, and welcome to a special edition episode as we are going to recap parts 1, 2, and 3 of the Road to Kona series. I am actually still camping. I'm kind of treating the month of July like an entire vacation month. I'm doing pretty good. It's my birthday month. So we drove the camper partway home and left it at the racetrack and hanging out at the racetrack this week. It's NASCAR week in New Hampshire. So it's been over a year since we talked to Scott Black, and just last month we talked to him and had episode, or actually part 4 of the Road to Kona series, and I figured it'd be great to catch up. We have a lot of new listeners in the past year who may have not heard Scott's story, which is pretty epic. So we're going to focus on 3 races along his journey. There's more races, so I do suggest if you want to hear the whole thing, go back and check out episode 16, 18, and 25 of the Road to Kona series. That's right. It was a long time ago. 16, 18, and 25 was a while ago. But we're going to focus on 3 races. Scott's first race, his first ever Ironman, the full in Mont Tremblant, Quebec. Then we're going to highlight Cozumel, which was a year later. It was actually his 3rd Ironman. He goes back to Mont Tremblant for a second time, doesn't qualify. It was an uneventful race. Pretty boring. Cozumel was the opposite. It was epic. It was hot. There may have been a hospital visit. We'll see. Then we're going to highlight one of his more recent races in Corde, where he got sick on the airplane heading out there when he was probably in the best shape of his life and really thought he had a chance. So that's going to be the recap. And then next week, you're going to hear part 4 of the Road to Kona series. And as Erica would typically say, it's a doozy. There may have been a 911 call made at one point, but you'll have to listen to find out. So until then, enjoy this Road to Kona recap, and we'll talk to you next week with part 4 of the Road to Kona series. But the venue is amazing. I think they say top 5 for all the Ironman venues for a spectator.
Out of everywhere?
Of all the Ironman venues, yeah, top 5 spectator venue. Lake Placid's in that as well, from what I remember.
Wow. And we're talking out of all the ones in like the world.
The world.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am impressed. I am impressed.
So your first Ironman, we get there. Where was your head?
I figured I'd done the training. You know, I knew I could finish, but I really had no idea what to expect because you never do the full 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, followed by the marathon. You never do it in training. You break it up.
Did you have any sort of goal in your head, or you just wanted to finish this since it was your first full? You just wanted to make sure you cross that finish line, or did you have like a stretch goal you were aiming for? Like, I don't even know what a good time is for a full Ironman. Fill me in. I need to know this kind of stuff.
The pros do the course in just around 8 hours.
Oh my gosh.
I did it in 13.
13 still sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah.
And then I think a max is 17.
They have a 17 and a half hour cutoff.
Okay.
The race starts at 7:30 in the morning, and at midnight, they shut it down. And if you're 10 yards away from the finish line and midnight hits, you're not an Ironman.
Oh no.
Exactly. They say he'll congratulate you. So when you finish an Ironman, I don't want to get too far ahead. Mike Riley will be there and he'll go, Erica Hamill, you are a Ironman. And everyone else says it with you. And if you're one of the last ones to cross the finish line just before midnight, it's like a rock show.
Really?
The whole place
Everybody
is
comes
wild.
out for it?
And everyone comes down for it. And they all yell, you are an Ironman.
Oh.
There was one year this girl came by about 30 seconds after the cutoff. And I listened.
My heart.
You know what he said?
What?
Congratulations, Erica.
But you're not an
And that was it.
Oh no!
And that
makes me so sad for whoever doesn't make the cut.
Yeah, we'll get into the finish line later and what that's like and who Mike Riley is. But I got to ask, did you realize your chances of qualifying for Kona before your first Ironman?
Honestly, I can't remember that clearly for the first one whether or not I went in thinking that I could qualify for Kona. The training I had done, I sort of estimated that I could maybe do this in 10 and a half hours. And at the time, I would look at prior races, see what people had done in the age group, because you're racing in your age group.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of thought I had a chance, but I really didn't know what to expect. But my stretch goal was 10 and a half hours.
So for people like me who aren't familiar with the qualification standards for Kona, what is the qualification? Like how do you go to Kona?
Well, backing up a little bit, Kona is the place where the World Championships is held every year. Anybody who races that's really their ultimate goal, is to get to Kona. And the way Ironman allocates slots for Kona is based on the number of starters in the age group. And some age groups have a lot of starters, like the 35 to 39 age group or the 40 to 44 age groups are typically those with the most starters, and they might get 4, 5, 6 slots to qualify. My advanced age group typically only gets 2 slots.
Oh, wow. So it is quite competitive. So we're talking like the best of the best here. All right. Yeah. I'm on board.
Yeah. So you're talking about being in the 1 or 2% of your age group. So if you do that, you're pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am nowhere near that. In my group, there might be 200, and I always finish like right in the middle.
So even if there's like 200, there's still only like 6 spots for them.
I'd say less.
It's very competitive.
So how many people get to go to Kona?
It's an excellent question. So Kona, 2,500 people can actually be on the start line.
Oh.
And that's limited by the amount of bikes they can fit on the pier.
Oh, wow.
In Kona, you can't fit any more bikes. So it's 2,500.
Wow.
Men and women combined. So if it were 50-50 worldwide, 1,250 people are going to make it. So it's competitive.
That's impressive.
All right, let's get into the race. The night before the race, I remember like you were following a plan. You cooked this meal. You had the meal, you went to bed, and you got your first 3 hours of sleep before your daughter showed up because they were a little late.
Yeah, that's right. I went to bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning. Went to bed at 8 o'clock at night, got like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And my daughter had just flown back from her semester abroad in Amsterdam. Landed in
Perfect timing.
Yeah. Landed in Boston, drove up, and at 11 o'clock at night, she arrives and wakes me up.
Were you able to fall back to sleep after that?
Yeah, I'm a pretty solid sleeper.
That's good. I am not.
So fell back asleep, and then the alarm went off at, I think it was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to have the pre-race meal.
Gotta love those early wake-up calls.
Yeah, the race goes off at 7:30, but you got to digest the food first, lest you have a
Code round.
There you go.
I have to tell you, races of any kind are the only reason I voluntarily wake up like 2-3 hours earlier than I need to. It's the only way.
You eat. I get up maybe a couple hours later. We go down there. The place is just massively packed with people.
It's crazy. So
and we're just at the transition tent. We're not even at the starting line.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. So I think 3,000 people at the start line. Everybody has 1 or 2, at least, people with them. So there are easily 10,000 people wandering around before the race. And you got to make your way from the transition tent to the start line. It's about a mile walk.
Yeah, I would say maybe just under, but it's a good walk. You walk in uphill, and then at some point, we stop and you get your wetsuit on. You try to get in the water for a swim. Everyone's throwing their bags of the clothes for after in the big dump trucks.
Yeah, trying to get in the water for a little warm up swim.
Mm-hmm.
A little nervous pee.
Yeah, and then you get in the corral. You self seed by your estimated swim time. Try to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm. I've heard it can be pretty brutal in the water, huh? People just like kicking each other, and
that's why you self seed, because if you're a lousy swimmer, you go in the front, everybody's going to just be swimming over you, so you'll get dunked.
That is my nightmare. That's why I won't do a try, at least not right now.
So then they have the national anthem, and then typically Mont Tremblant has an an F-18 flyover just before the race starts. I know Eric got all excited about that. He's like, "Oh, the plane, the plane."
I did, but you know what? When I did it 2 years later, no flyover. You had it for both of your years, and I never got one.
That's not fair.
No, it wasn't fair. You wouldn't know. You don't know Top Gun, apparently.
You know? Oh, come on.
Right.
I know of Top Gun. I just haven't seen it.
I remember I'm with your daughters, and I remember we finally, because all you're looking at is a sea of people in the corral wearing green and pink caps. You know, the women were wearing pink and the men were wearing green. And so you're just looking at hundreds and hundreds of these swim caps. And all of a sudden, as the men go off and the women go off, all of a sudden we found you. Just perfect timing right before you went. You remember that?
Yeah. That was a good moment. Big smiles, waving. I was pretty excited. I was not nervous, just excited.
Nice.
And I remember you saying you weren't nervous also because you knew you were prepared.
I was prepared and just ready to go. Long day ahead.
That's all you can ask for. Just being ready. Just getting yourself there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So 2.4 mile swim. We sent you off as we saw you right before you went. How did your swim go?
The swim went really according to plan. I think I spent probably an hour and 7 minutes swimming.
Wow.
Before you...
2.4 miles, Erica. 2.4.
So hold on. I have a question. So what time of year is this?
It was August.
Oh, okay. So did you have like warm weather? Was this like a nice swim? Was it freezing?
No, it wasn't. It was a nice day.
It was a beautiful
great
day.
Yeah.
It was sunscreen day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm just trying to picture all this. So
But the
I have a better frame of
water,
mind.
the water was probably, what do you think the water was? It was still wetsuit legal.
Yeah, the water's it's a big lake, probably 68 degrees, maybe 67, something like that. I don't know.
It's not terrible. It's not Hampton Beach
No,
ocean weather, ocean temperatures.
And 99% of the people wearing a wetsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Helps you keep you warm and buoyant.
So an unfortunate thing about being a spectator of the swim is you see them leave, and that's about it. Unlike the run of the bike where you can be anywhere on the course, you just see them go off in the distance. And this swim, you go about a mile out, you take a right-hand turn, and you go a little bit, and then you take another right-hand turn, go about another mile in. And so the tracker, obviously, works better on the bike, and it's estimating Scott's time. But we don't really know when he's going to get out until he gets out and crosses the mat.
Okay.
And we are in some line. You had to run it to transition at least a quarter mile.
Yeah, I think actually the transition at the time was maybe even just a little bit longer than that.
Oh, wow.
So we found a sign, and we made sure to be closer to the transition tent. So when he did cross, in case there was any delay on the app, like, okay, we knew, pay attention, watch for him. Tell me about that. When you saw your two girls.
Yeah, so you get out of the water, you try to get horizontal, and you're a little bit dizzy because all the blood is in your legs. So
you said it took you an hour, so
yeah.
Wow.
And when I get out of the water, I'm a little bit lightheaded because the blood's rushing back to your head, and you get the wetsuit strippers help you take your wetsuit off.
it's really their job to take your wetsuits off.
They're called strippers.
Yeah.
So what do you wear under a wetsuit?
The sign, hold on, I got to tell you, the sign literally says strippers this way.
Well, that's fun. Okay.
Yeah, you're wearing a race suit underneath.
Okay.
And so I'm making my way towards the transition tent, and then all of a sudden on the right, I see the crazy pack of people cheering me on. Eric and my girls, and my girlfriend, and another friend who was there, and that's just a huge boost. It's just so much fun, and they're just going crazy.
The reaction he had was one of those, like, he's in the zone. He's just kind of running. You can tell he's thinking in his head, what's next? What am I going to do? And then all of a sudden he sees us, and just all of a sudden he takes like a right-hand turn. He just loses his mind, and like maybe almost ran the person, like how Denise said,
yeah, she
you're
looked
blind.
over her blind spot.
Yeah, he definitely did not look for his blind spot.
I could see how you would just be so excited that you just don't care. You beeline.
So
you go.
And I want to tell you this: he goes to transition. We sprint about a third of a mile to a part of the bike course where he'll be again, passing us in like a matter of a minute. We sprint because we know you're going to be there. So let's get into that. End of swim, transition, bike.
It's a sort of a spectator friendly course. think Eric ran 5 miles that day. You know?
Okay.
I was all about it.
Yeah.
You sound like it. You're so excited.
Yeah, so you get in the tent, you grab your you take your wetsuit off and you grab your bike gear, and then you run towards your bike.
So how long is a transition though? Like, I know you want to do it as fast as possible, but like, what's the normal time for that?
Well, since there's a maybe over a quarter of a mile run, I think that transition was probably good 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Is that a normal thing to have that long of a?
It depends. It all depends on how far the tent is from where you get out of the water.
And that doesn't count towards any of your other mileage, does it?
It does. It's cumulative time. So,
oh no, I meant like the quarter mile. It doesn't count towards any of your other mileage, right?
No.
The time, I could see the time, but I was like, ooh.
Oh, yeah. Once the gun goes off, the clock is running. So, the faster you can go through transition, the better you're off.
Makes sense.
And it's a lot easier to make up a minute in transition than to run or bike a minute faster.
Yep.
Yeah. So you go through that, you grab your helmet, your bike shoes or whatever else you need, and you run towards your bike and off you go. On that course, it's in 2 out and backs. You're gone from sight from the spectators for basically 2.5 hours at a time.
So the course is fantastic. It's 2 loops. So Mont Tremblant does a half Ironman, and they do a full a few months later. So you just do the half course twice. It's an out and back, he said twice, but really you pass through the center village like 4 times. So he goes out and back, and then he goes up a hill and down a hill and passes again, then out and back, up and down. So even though it's an out and back, you come through the center village 4 times. We saw you at least. I
think you saw 6 times.
No, total in the race about 12.
Yeah, but on the bike course, like 6 times.
That's great.
And there's some races that you'll go to and you only see them twice in both transitions.
So that is really easy for the spectators. That's great.
It's not exactly a spectator-friendly sport, whether you're there or you're watching it on TV.
And that's why I say when I do my next, it will be there again, and you will be there, and you'll be like, I can't wait to do this.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I will be so happy for you.
So how was the bike course? Let's talk about the first lap, because things get good in the second lap. Let's talk about the first.
I felt pretty good on the first lap. There's one area where the road got bumpy. I think I lost my salt tablets at the time. Headed out the first 20 miles until the first turnaround, and we turn around and start heading back, and we go up a little hill, and that's where the motorcycle drove up next to me and showed me a blue.
Was that the first lap?
Yeah, on the first lap. Yeah. So I got a drafting penalty because in Ironman you're supposed to leave 10 meters between you and the bike rider in front of you. And even though on a hill you get 0 advantage for drafting, the referee saw fit to give me a drafting penalty.
So this is you said uphill. You're going uphill, but just
It's
a little too close to somebody.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Right. So, the penalty tent was probably another 7 miles away. So you're supposed to stop in the first penalty tent. And I was kind of pissed. Stopped at the penalty tent. And I was starting to rant. But one guy said, hey, it is what it is. Just relax, gather yourself, drink.
What was your penalty?
So you have to sit on the side of the road for 5 minutes.
5
While everybody is going by you.
The guy who told you to, it is what it is, was that another competitor who was in the penalty box?
Yeah, just another competitor. There are a few of us there.
Okay.
So he's flying on the bike. Yeah, cheaters. Did you know you were in second place at this time?
No, I had no idea.
So spoiler alert.
Me and his daughters knew, and we're like watching the app, and we're like, holy crap, we're going to Hawaii. Like if he keeps us up, we're going to Kona, baby. We were getting really excited. And you pass us, and maybe we said going up the hill, like you're in second. Did we get that to you?
Yeah. I could hear you guys giving me feedback, and I gotten up from, I don't know, maybe 30th on the swim to second coming into town on the bike at the end of the first lap.
So we would hang out on this hill, massive hill, and he had this green helmet, so he was so easy to find in the distance. And the hill was great because Camille would be running up the hill with you. Estelle would be maybe another 100 yards up and run with you. And I would be either before them or after them and run up with you. Versus if you're anywhere else there and he goes by you at 20 miles an hour, it's just all you can say is, go, Scott.
Yep.
And he's gone.
He's just a blur.
And so, yeah, I want to say we relayed to you. You're in second place and you were kind of like...
Yeah. I was looking for my girlfriend, but she'd gone back to take a nap because she was tired.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's right. Well, we knew we had 2 hours after the swim and after we set him off on the bike. And so we went back and ate breakfast. And it was like that food coma nap. And she was waiting for a friend there too. But at one point, she's like, it's a 12-hour race. I'll see him later. Right. Me and your daughters, we did not care. We wanted to see you every moment we could on the course. And we moved so much.
Yeah, you get caught up in the excitement. I would do the same
so
thing.
much fun.
How can you sleep?
I think I had 3 Red Bulls, though, because I had like 2 hours of sleep. They were free. Like, they were really for the competitors. But I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to take this one. Little 8 ounces.
That's funny.
Red Bull Hill.
Very nice.
It's a long, lonely day out there. And, when you see family cheering you on, it's a good pick me up.
Very nice.
All right, so you're in second place. You just saw us. You are in a great mood. You're feeling good?
Feeling good.
Feeling great. Everything is going according to plan. Lap 2 of the bike. Go.
So, first 56 miles are done. You head back out for the second lap. And that's when temperature is rising, so it's a lot warmer.
Mm-hmm.
The wind picks up in the late morning, early afternoon, because by then it's probably 11 o'clock. And the second loop is harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the salt tablets anymore. So I'm starting to feel a little bit lightheaded. So that's, maybe slight dehydration, maybe not enough calories. It's my first Ironman. I don't have any experience with it. So we start heading back at like mile 90. We would do a loop through town. On the first loop, I had noticed that there was a pothole, big pothole circled in orange, and avoided it. But on the second loop,
oh no,
being lightheaded, hit the pothole and went down.
Oh no.
Hard.
Oh no.
How fast do you think you're going?
I was probably going like 22 maybe when I hit that pothole.
Oh, I can't imagine what it did to you, but what did it do to your bike?
Well, so you go down.
Mm-hmm.
There were people there that helped me up. Well, the first thing you do when you fall is you move your arms because you want to make sure you didn't break anything, especially your collarbone. Mm. And then start looking at the bike. Nothing looked out of sorts. So I was probably on the ground for complaining and whining for maybe 4 or 5 minutes before I got back on the bike. And that's when I realized that I had no more rear brake. And so...
Where we're going, we don't need brakes.
Yeah.
Do you though? Do you really
Yeah. But so I go down, and the last 20 miles of the bike course are the hardest part of the bike course. Most of it's uphill. And
I said no brakes.
Yeah. And I was, and you know how when you come back at the end of the loop, there's even an area that has a speed trap because it's dangerous.
It's like a no passing zone. Mm-hmm. Going back downhill. So you go up and up and up this hill, and you turn around and you go back, and it's probably 5 miles up, 5 miles down. There is a speed zone where it's like no passing. Stay in line, no passing, too dangerous.
Oh, wow.
So they're not really checking your speed. It's no passing zone.
No passing zone.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm hurting, but a huge adrenaline rush. Mm. I'm looking at myself and I can see road rash on the leg and the shoulder.
And so for us back there, to tell you what was going on, the app, the tracker, all of a sudden he stopped moving, and we're like, why hasn't he hit the next checkpoint yet? And then finally he hits it, but it was like much longer than we thought. He didn't lose any positions, but he took much longer. When he passes us on this hill, we're like, go Scott, just where we saw him the first time. We got nothing back from him. And we can just see his shoulder and what we thought, sunburn.
Oh.
We thought dehydration and sunburn, and you're just worn out because when you passed us again, you were at mile like 104. So you got about 8 to go, but we're just like, we're like, Hawaii's not going to happen. But no, we just thought he was sunburned. Like, oh man, out there on the highway, because you're riding on a highway for quite a bit. We just thought he got burnt and like dehydrated. That's what we thought until.
Yeah, that was back in the years of the sleeveless tri-suit too.
That's right. Yeah. So his shoulders and his whole entire arm is exposed and it just looked like a sunburn, a bad one.
Yeah. I was feeling pretty miserable. I was in a hurry for the bike to get over.
So his daughters and I, we run down again. You still haven't seen your girlfriend. It's a good thing she can't understand English. We run down to transition to see you
come off the bike,
and you get off the bike. And right before you run into the tent, you make that right hand corner, which brings into like a corral to the tent, and you see us, and we see you. And my reaction was like, "Oh my God, he's bleeding." But your reaction was like, "Rah, I crashed," as you hugged your daughters and then you ran in.
So I ran, like pointing at my injuries, and I run into the transition tent. I decide that I'm going to go to the medical tent first. So, maybe they can put something on me to numb the pain, a spray or something.
Mm-hmm. Smart move.
Yeah. So they make me lie down. Someone comes over and they say, "Oh, well," I said, "Can you give me some spray? I crashed, it hurts. It's sore. I've got road rash all over." And say, "Well, we're not doctors. There's nothing we can do except for clean off the wound with some water." So they grab a bottle of water and they start pouring water on the wound, which of course
makes it sting even more.
Feels real good. So,
oh man.
So lost at least another just under 10 minutes, probably.
It was a long transition.
So made the transition.
I mean, you had to try though.
Really long. So now we're at, 5 minutes for the penalty, probably 7 minutes for the crash, and then another 7 minutes maybe in there in the medical tent. Finally, I go and grab my stuff for the run.
You only have a marathon to do. I mean,
nothing. And you only have a marathon to do.
This sounds so awful, you guys.
Like we're really selling this to Erica.
Not selling it. No. You lost me at the swim. Yeah. Well, but continue.
Luckily it was the first time I had ever done it, so I really didn't know what to expect. So then you head out for the run. It's a 2-loop course, 13 miles each loop. I can't do the math right now. You head out for 5 miles. And then run back for 5 miles. Yeah, about that, right? 5. Yeah, that's what it is.
6.5, maybe?
Yeah.
6.5.
So,
that's the only math I can do is the marathon math.
The first 2 miles of the run are hilly before you get onto an old rail track. You run out to the turnaround, and I felt really good for that first 6 miles, and then turn around and run back into town. That still felt pretty good. Saw Eric 2 or 3 times on that first loop on the run course. Like I said, I think he ran 5 or 6 miles that day.
You can't just give me credit. Your daughters were running with me.
Yeah.
So you run into town, and I want to go back to the beginning of the run, but I'll explain this. You run through the center of the village, right? And then you come to a point where if you're your second loop, you take a left to the finish. If it's your first loop, you take a right. So there was 3 spots where we were able to see Scott coming in. And then we ran to the middle of the village and saw him go through the village. And we ran back to the spot where he'll run out.
Okay.
And we were sprinting.
Yeah.
All out. And Mark was too. Oh, man. Mark is Camille's husband now. He was out of breath. He's like, I never ran this much in my life. You guys are crazy. But I want to go back to the first quarter mile of the run. Red Bull Hill. So you get out on the run, you get out transition, you take a left right near the swim, and you go up this hill. There's a big Red Bull banner. They're giving you Red Bull. There's music. Everyone's cheering you up the hill. I want to say we walked up the hill, and every time we've done this race, we walked up that hill. It's like, why am I going to kill myself right now? But we walked up, and that is when you really told us what happened.
Yeah, filled you in on the crash on that first uphill.
And I want to say your daughters were your biggest cheerleaders right then. Like, you still got this. You can do it.
Yeah. It was, I think, still adrenaline.
Yeah. The adrenaline got you through.
Yeah.
So you came through to the village.
Yeah. The first 13.1 miles are done.
And how'd that feel?
That felt good. And then you probably have 400 yards till you get back to Red Bull Hill. And you see the hill and you got to go back up it again. And that's just like, that was just horrible.
That's one thing I don't like about the loop courses is just if there's one part that sucks and you got to do it again.
Right.
And
So-
not only that,
And
it's
you know
followed
it's
by
coming.
another hill and then another hill and another one until you get to the rail trail when it's still a little hilly.
Yeah. So I had no set plan, but once I hit Red Bull Hill the second time, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk the hills and,
No shame in that.
right, just walk the hills. So you walk the hills and then you go start getting on the flat part again, and you get to the first food station, and that's when he's like, okay, you start negotiating with yourself and like, okay, I'm gonna walk the food stations too,
Mm-hmm.
all right? And so you start hemorrhaging time,
Oh, yeah.
and there's a food station about every mile and a half, maybe.
No, it's every mile.
It's every mile.
I want to say they have one every mile.
Well, I don't know, man. It's metric over there, so
Oh, yeah.
Kilometers we're talking.
so maybe it was every 2 kilometers, which is just over a mile and a half.
When I did it, I walked every hill and aid station,
Yeah,
both loops. I
Well,
think.
that is how you conserve energy a little bit. Like, I know runners do that a lot. They walk the aid
First loop,
stations.
I might have ran the hills the first time out. Thinking I got this, and then I smartened up.
yeah. But that's what you're doing with yourself. You're negotiating. So you the first food station, you say, oh yeah, I'll just walk the food station. So then you get to the next feeding station, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna walk the station, and I'll eat my food, and then I'll walk for another 10 seconds after that, and then I'll start running again. And then you get to the next one, and it's like, okay, I'm going to stop running before the station.
You still sound a lot more disciplined than me because I'm like, all right, if I can make it to that tree,
Right,
I'm going to walk for 30 seconds.
right.
This 30 seconds is turning into 45 seconds.
Right.
It just keeps adding up.
And then you hit the last turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you're at mile 20. At mile 20 is when the race really begins,
Okay.
because that's when everybody starts to really fall apart. Right, Eric?
That's absolutely right.
So,
Actually, for me, when I did it and I saw my buddy a quarter mile behind me, I picked it up, but I didn't want to lose to him.
right. So then you're just going from food station to food station. And then there comes a point at that where I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop running now, see when I can get to the next station. And then you get to another station and you eat, and, refuel and hydrate. And then you walk after that. And then you really have to have a battle within yourself saying, okay, now you got to pick up your legs and start running again. And your legs are like, no, we're not going to run again. And you're like, yes, we are going to run again.
That mental game, I can.
It's a huge
That's
mental
crazy.
game.
When do you think the adrenaline really wore off from the bike crash?
It was probably a mile 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to that, I think I was running like 8.5, 9-minute miles. And then all of a sudden, you were running 11 or 12-minute miles. And then, after mile 20, you got a 14 in there because you're walking a good part of it.
And I want to say, your first loop, you were still second or third.
Yeah.
And we were communicating that to you, but just all of a sudden, that second loop, the other runners just had it.
Yeah.
It eventually got you. I mean, they didn't crash a bike, so that was a huge factor.
Sure, it was a factor.
Yeah.
You come off the rail trail, and then you got that section where you got to go up 2 hills before the downhill. And one of the things with the races, at least they used to do it, is they would put your bib number on your leg, but they also write your age. So as people are running by, you take a quick glimpse at their calf.
Okay.
And if it says anything below 55, you're like, okay, I'll just let this guy go. But if you see someone in your age group, if it says 55 or 56, or,
Interesting.
you're like, oh, God, that guy's ahead of me. Or I'm wondering if he's on the first loop. So there's this guy ahead of me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and keep up with this guy on the hill. So he's running up the hill, and I take 3 steps up the hill, and I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So you go back up Red Bull Hill one last time.
The backside of it.
Yeah. And then there's that other really steep climb before you head back into town. I walked up that too. And then you get into in the center of town, and then it's downhill towards the finish line. But by then your quads are shot, and just running down that hill is just so painful.
But you hear the crowd, and you can hear them come before it's even in sight, and you're kind of going through this snake, or spaghetti path, and everyone is on both sides. They're all cheering your name, no matter who you are. Like, let's go, you're almost there.
Yeah.
Your daughters and I, and your girlfriend, who finally made it, we were right at the finish line in the grandstands.
Yeah,
we're talking
right.
like it's 6 grandstands high, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really the high point of the day. You come down that chute, and then you see your family there at the finish line, and you see the line, and you try and get the strength to put your arms up in the air and do something so that you can remember what it's like. Mm-hmm. And then you hear the voice. You hear Mike Riley, and he's like, "Scott Black, you're an Ironman." That's
Goosebumps.
It's pretty special. It's pretty special.
Do you recall if he was on the ground or was he up in his scaffolding?
No, he was up in the scaffolding.
Okay,
he only comes down like after hour 15 or 16.
But I remember, so I was just trying to think of which race it was, but I remember you looking up and like waving to him at one of them.
Yeah, that was the next race.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the one that we didn't crash.
Yeah. So, made it across, the finish line, and then you get the impression that you can't take another step. Finally you just like, your body just lets go.
I feel that way for you, just hearing you.
And I'll say one more thing. The finish line's on like some elevated little stage. Like you're running down, and then you got to run up.
Oh, no.
It's like a handicap ramp, but you got to run up that ramp to get to the line. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that ramp wasn't so bad. There's another ramp we'll talk about that was horrible.
I can just imagine like trying to looking at a set of stairs and like crying.
Right. So
no, don't make me do it.
So you cross the line, and you get your someone puts your a medal around your neck, and they ask if you're okay. Right.
How many times out of 10 do people say no, I'm not okay?
You'll learn. So they ask you if you're okay. Do you need medical? And I'm like, no, I don't need medical. So they give you your finisher's T-shirt, and then you go into a tent, and they've got food for you, and Mont Tremblant does it really nice. They've got some really nice food, and drinks, and you try and sit down at a table, but that's so painful. And I had, it was my first time, so I hadn't thought about going into the medical tent after, or going to get a massage after. Mm-hmm. But, all I wanted to do was, see my family. But it took a while to digest the food or eat the food and be able to head out of the tent. And I was just a mess.
So family's not allowed in the tent. We're on the outside now. We're watching other people, right? We can't find him. Maybe 40 minutes has passed, and there's one tent with sidewalls up, but they're like windows, and we can see this is where people are going to get their bag of the after race clothing, the bag that you threw in the big dump truck before. And so as a number, you go and say, I'm number like 1342, and I think that was my number. And they give you your bag. So we were hanging out near these windows, like in between the trees and the tent, and then we finally saw you. We saw you slowly walking over to the tent, and then walk into some lady, and you don't see us, and we're trying to get your attention. I think we got a lady's attention to get your attention.
Yeah. So I get my bag. I had a special shirt that I'd bought myself, and I'm like telling the kids, wait. So finally get the strength, put the shirt on. I'd gotten an Ironman shirt with the arc reactor on it. My kids love that.
for those who don't understand, the movie Iron Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Marvel is, as we talked about earlier, big Marvel fan.
Oh, is that his little thing?
Yes. It's
I thought it was a special name for like the Iron Man guy with like the M.
No,
it's literally Iron
like
Man.
His heart right in the middle of the shirt. Yeah.
Right. So finally I get out of the tent. You guys greet me, and then we have to walk back to the condo, and the condo is probably a mile away, and it's uphill.
Do you just say, no, I'm not doing this?
I would say half mile. Well, oh no, that's right. Because that race, we're further up the road.
Oh yeah,
you're right.
And that's when I started telling you guys, I think I broke ribs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, I was in pain.
Did you actually break ribs?
Yeah.
Ooh.
We'll get to that, but yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I couldn't wait.
Yeah. So, the race is still going on.
It's probably almost dinner time.
Yeah.
Race goes to midnight, but
yeah, by then it was probably 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Wait, what was your time? We skipped that.
Oh, so that was like 11:40.
Okay.
11:40, and I don't remember at that moment if you told me you were fifth or if that came later.
I don't recall. I think we did tell you were fifth.
Yeah, you were fifth. So
that is still really respectable, especially for your very first one.
Yeah. So I was happy, but I was in pain. I just wanted to get back to the condo, and we started walking. I put my Eric between Eric and Mark, and my hands around your shoulders, so you guys could help me get to the condo. And then we got to the bottom of the hill where the condo was. And I was like, I'm never going to make it up the hill.
Oh, no.
I need someone to go get the car, come back down, and drive me back up. Yeah.
For good reason. I mean, I would have thrown in that towel, like white flag, a whole shebang.
Yeah. So we finally get to the condo. And, I don't know if you want to talk about the condition I was in, but I was a mess.
Yeah. Let's get the two perspectives.
All right. So, if you've ever been in a labor delivery room,
I can't say I have. But.
Women are absolute badass. But if you've never been in one, it would be maybe the next closest thing to it when you're in the other room and you can hear, because I felt so bad for his daughter. So I'm in the bedroom with Scott, and his girlfriend's in there. And I'm hopping in and out because it is not a sight you want to see. But some of the sounds you were making could be up there to with the delivery room.
Oh yeah. So,
no.
Of course. So, I think I stayed on the couch for like 2 hours.
You did, and your brother called.
Yeah, Brad called. You guys were trying to feed me, because you need to get food in.
Oh yeah,
quickly, and I just couldn't eat anything. So finally, I said, why don't you just put some chicken in a blender with some water and tomato sauce, and I'll just try and drink that.
Yeah. Hey, do what it takes. I mean,
and I remember when your brother called that none of us really knew how the race went yet from your perspective.
Yeah.
And so we finally heard it for the first time when you told your brother on the phone.
Right.
We're sitting there Indian style on the floor. He's on the couch and hearing it. And you're still in all your clothing. You haven't changed.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't even get it off.
Oh,
That's when we're getting to the bedroom delivery room situation. But
oh yeah. You spend 11 hours in your race suit and you're still in it 2 hours later. That's not recommended.
No.
So I don't. So if I finally get the strength to go into the bedroom and hopefully take a shower, it's a bathtub and I can barely step over the edge of the tub to get in. And then I have road rash. So turn the water on. Oh,
where was the road rash?
Shoulders, back, arms.
I know how bad it is just trying to shower after chafing. This is like next level shit.
Yeah.
And I will say I was not in the bathroom for this. I left. It was just you and your girlfriend. It was all on her.
Right.
Wow.
But then I think a little bit later I begged you to give me a leg massage.
Well, I didn't give you one with my own hands. What were those those rolling sticks?
Yeah.
He had one of those, and he's like, maybe she couldn't do it or was doing something else, but yeah, I was rolling that thing back and forth.
You could tolerate that after races. I'm like, don't touch me. I'm so sore. Everything hurts. And that just sounds like torture.
Yeah.
I would have wanted, if it were me, I would have been just get me dry and clean, and I'm laying down for days. for days if it were me. I don't know how you got up the next day.
I don't know either.
I had to leave, so I left early the next day, like at 5:30 in the morning. But 5th place in Ironman is a podium.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know that. It was on the way back when we got back to the condo that I ran into a guy who had just done the race. It was in the same age group. And I told him I finished 5th. He's like, oh, that's awesome. You get to go to the award ceremony and be on the podium tomorrow. I'm like, podium?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we go to the award ceremony, and that's one of the nice things that Ironman does is there's an extended podium and the top 5 get on the podium.
This is the morning after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where the award ceremony is, and the Kona slot location is, and
Okay.
you walk up and you ask the guy who's finished first if he's going to take a slot, and then you ask the guy who's second if he's going to take a slot, and the guy third, and
So you can turn down a slot?
some people don't want to go, or some people might have already qualified.
Oh, I see.
Or they've been there before and they're like, yeah, I can't do it this year. Let someone else do it.
Right. So unfortunately, 2 people took the slot. So
First and third, I think.
yeah, I think it was first and third for that
wow.
race. Yeah. Yeah.
So we missed it.
Yeah. So no Kona for me.
Still a great attempt.
Yeah, I was,
That.
I was happy, but
Mhm.
I think it was 24 minutes out of the qualifying spot.
Oh, so then is your brain starting to be like, where could I have?
So that's where your brain's like, oh, geez. So
But-
the 5-minute penalty, their crash, then running with the broken ribs.
But with the crash and with your injuries that we'll get into, could you have made Kona 2 months later?
No, not with the broken ribs. No way, because Mont Tremblant was August 20th, and then Kona is literally 8 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So no way.
How long did it take your ribs to heal?
Well, let's get into that. Let's get into, you go home.
So we drive home so that's on Sunday. We drive back on Monday. It's 6 hour.
You had to sit in a car, right?
Oh yeah, the 7-hour car ride is not pleasant.
No.
Tuesday morning, going to work, and I hadn't slept the night before, and spent the day at work in pain. And everybody knows that there's really not much you can do for broken ribs. But at like 4:55 in the afternoon, I was like, I just can't take this pain anymore. I'm going to the hospital. So I went. They took their X-rays. There were 3 broken ribs.
Wow.
And they say, here, take some aspirin and some muscle relaxants, and then for the next 2 or 3 weeks, you just pray that you don't laugh or cough.
Oh no, that sounds so awful.
Oh yeah, it was it was awful.
Don't breathe too hard, by the way.
The only thing he enjoyed was telling people about the race. Everyone would come into work. We had an office of about 200 plus people at the time. And I remember you'd go and someone would stop you and you would talk to them for 10 plus minutes. And he got a whole crowd in the cafeteria after breakfast on Tuesday. And you really enjoyed talking to them. That was the only time you did it. You didn't hate it because you were just in so much pain.
Yeah, Ironmen don't like talking about their races.
You got to celebrate that glory. I would be writing it on the walls. I'd be screaming it from the rooftop.
Well, writing it on a wall, this guy who never logged onto Facebook to write a essay about Ironman.
Yeah,
It's probably his last post.
you know what? I think it is my last post.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to find it. I'll post it for everybody.
But after that, my girlfriend made me promise that I'd never do another one.
So that lasted long.
Yeah.
When was your next one? Well, I guess we'll get into that too. When the next one.
So I think it probably took 1 or 2 months before I went up to Eric and I was like, hey, I just signed up for next year.
That's great.
And I was like, yes, we're going back to Canada.
It's really nice to know that there's other people who are gluttons for punishment, just like me.
All right. So that was a pretty cool first story. It was one of my favorites, my first experience at an Ironman race. I loved everything about it. That is what got me hooked. And when I was like, I want to do this. And at the time I thought I couldn't even do a half. So, but as Ironman likes to say, anything is possible. So we're going to fast forward a little more than a year. He did Mont Tremblant again. uneventful. He didn't qualify. He finished fifth again. 12 weeks later, he convinces me to go to Cozumel with him on the island and do that Ironman. And this one was something else. What a cool experience. And I can't wait for you to hear it.
And like I said, I have the bugs. I'm chasing Kona, so I'm feeling good. At the finish line, I'd spoken to one of the pro who won. He's like, when you're in shape, go do another one. He says you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. The cake is already built. All you want to do is you just need to put a little bit of icing on top of the cake. So he's like, so that was like 12 weeks later.
Yeah.
I fly Eric out to Mexico, and we go together and we go race Ironman Cozumel the week before Thanksgiving.
And let me tell you this, I had this Sherpa bug. I was like, this is awesome. I went to Mont Tremblant both times with him, and then he's like, I actually told you I couldn't go. And then I think 2 hours later, I changed my mind and I said, I'm going. I got to go.
Again, Ashley is a saint.
Yep. And he flew me out. Mm-hmm. You went down, though, like a week early. Like, you went down real early.
I went down a week early because it's hot.
So you kind of got to get used to it.
So,
then, huh?
I had done a 2 weeks of sauna prep to try and, get a little bit used to it.
Right.
But I was like, I got to go down earlier and try and get used to the climate. That didn't work out so good.
I fly down a couple days before. He's already been there at least 5 days. He picks me up. It's funny. I took a bus, then a plane, then a bus, and then a boat to get there.
Oh, wow.
Cozumel is an island, right? Not too far off of, you got to go to Cancun, and then you got to take like an hour bus ride south to Playa del Carmen, and then you get on a ferry that's like a 45-minute ferry.
I honestly don't know where it is. Is it like west or is it more east?
I'd say it's southwest of Cancun.
Okay. Well, no, like west coast of anything.
It's in the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not in the Pacific. It's in the Caribbean.
I'm like, I have no idea where it is.
Yeah. So I get there. I'm having a blast because, because life in Cozumel was fun. You get around on a scooter. We went to the pool, which was like this local community pool that had the lanes. We were swimming in the lanes. He would go out on his practice bike rides. I would rent a scooter for the whole week and just scoot around on the scooter, falling on the bike.
I've seen your scooter video. Well,
yeah, taking videos. Well, yeah, I had a big mishap on a scooter too. But I had so much fun in Cozumel leading up. I would go out at night to some of the coolest bars just because they were like outdoors and
oh, nice.
All you had is a little roof over and
so you were having the time of your life and he's trying to prep and
well, I would be with him when he was prepping, but I actually went out to watch the Bruins games. They played like 3 times I was there, and
they actually showed
I found a place where they had the TVs, and I'm like, can you get the game? And they did. I had so much fun, and I met so many people in the community. They were so interested in what was going on, the people who lived there. Mm-hmm. And they would just be asking so many questions like, we love this week, what goes into it? I can't believe they really do this. Mm-hmm. And like, it's our favorite day because they make a lot of money with tips, but then they're just like, it's such a party.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's so much fun. So I was having a blast. Your brother joined us and his family. He flew them down.
See Uncle Scott race and punch his ticket for
And not
Kona.
only that, I had a blast with your nephew and your niece. And they were, how old do you think at the time? How old are they now?
Well, let's see. This was, they were probably 7 and 8 at the time.
I had so much fun. And I think your brother and his wife will love me too. Like I was playing with Spencer the whole time. We were going swimming, and I wouldn't call it scuba diving, more like snorkeling. Mm-hmm. And we would go to their hotel resort, which was much nicer than ours.
Yeah, Eric was the built-in babysitter. It was awesome.
A little bit. And
gotta earn your ticket, man.
I will say, your brother and his wife treated me extremely well. They treated me extremely well when I was down there, and I was very grateful. And I absolutely adored their 2 kids.
Yeah. We had a good time, but for me, it was just a business trip.
It was. Mm-hmm. He was business the whole time. So let's get into that. Let's get into the race the day before transition. Everything is different. It is not the same as Mont Tremblant. It is not the greatest spectator place.
No, the swim start and the bike run transition is at a different place from the swim transition. So you got to go and take a bus and go drop the bike off at one place, and then you got to take another bus and go drop off your run gear at another place. In your transition bag, you put some food for your bike, and since you didn't have or for your run, and since you don't have access to that the next day, just sits there, and it's outdoors, and it sits in the sun, and it just bakes. So it was a little bit more challenging, a little bit more stressful getting started than Mont Tremblant, but Uncle Eric was there, and
the logistics were extremely difficult compared to our past experiences. He would have to go down on a bus by himself. No one else was allowed. So at some points that would really kind of be helpful, and just he's thinking in his mind and going through his checklist. I need this. I would typically have it. In this case,
so you couldn't really Sherpa for him.
Well, not pre-race, and not
way.
Not the best way. And I would have to get there by walking, running, or a scooter. And no scooter on race day, by the way. But the day before, these buses are taking everybody who is an athlete to the transition. So no, I'm not allowed in there to help him out in this situation. You were on your own. So let's go race morning.
Okay. So the Cozumel swim has a reputation of being the most beautiful swim, because it's in a national park or ocean park. So you'll get to see, it's very clear, and it also has a reputation of being a fast swim because supposedly the current is going the right way.
So this is like ocean. You were used to the lakes, and this is
yeah. So this was ocean swim, and it was already windy in the morning, and I fully expected to have a real fast swim, but I got the impression that I was swimming against the current.
Oh no.
I would see things in the water, and I'm like, wait, didn't I already see that? So instead of having a fast downhill swim, I actually had a slower swim than in the lake at Mont Tremblant.
No way.
And you weren't the only one who thought this.
No, I wasn't. So maybe,
was it just the day, or
no?
wind?
Some people swam faster. I don't know if it was where I decided to swim in the ocean, maybe a little bit further out from other people. But my swim was slower than I expected. So I get out of the water, rinse off because it's salt water. So, and then got to work on the bike, right? And Cozumel is three loops, and it's flat.
All right then, you
Flat,
got that going for you.
Very, very flat.
Well, she thinks that's an advantage. Maybe.
So,
I mean, it is and it's not, because at least for a run, it's not, you're not working any different muscles, so you don't get any relief.
right. So the problem on the bike is that you're in the aero position.
The whole time, basically.
The whole time. And maybe it's flat, but it's on an island in the middle of the ocean, and it's windy.
Ooh.
So whichever way you're racing, at one point, you're going to be going against the wind. And as the day goes on, it's getting hotter.
There's one other thing about a flat course. You never get to stop pedaling.
Oh,
So
yeah,
when
you can't ride the downhills.
Right. When you're on a hilly course and when you're doing those massive hills, well, you get the reward on the way down.
That's true.
And you get that recovery.
Yeah, even if it's 1 minute of easier pedaling,
It's a nice break.
it's a nice break. There, it's unrelenting. You're pedaling the whole time.
Okay.
And the first lap wasn't so bad because the wind hadn't picked up and hadn't gotten hot, but the second lap got harder, and then the third lap was just, it's already getting harder because you're mile tired. 80, mile 90, but the wind picked up and it was hot. And I had never experienced a hot race. All the previous 2 races were all, 70, 80 degree weather days. And my hydration was, pretty much based on that. Here, I really didn't adjust accordingly.
So what were we talking for temperature? Like hundreds?
It was high 80s, low 90s, and it was 85% humidity,
And the sun was brutal.
it was just brutal. Eric tried to get from one viewing point to another, and I think he had to run 3 miles. That's the neighbor's dog.
I ran a lot. I had to run a lot, but the run wasn't as much fun as Mont Tremblant, where I would only run a little bit from one point to another point to another. I would have to run sometimes more than a mile at a time to get to the next spot to see you. I do remember you came out of the water somewhere in the 20th. I want to say 27th, but you were flying on the bike again, picking people off one by one, and I want to say you got into the top 3.
Yeah, second to third coming off the bike.
Is that age group or
Age group.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like, who are you all around?
No.
So we're right back.
Age group.
Okay.
So we're right back to where we were the last 2 races, where he's right on the edge of qualifying, getting top 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're right there again. Here we are, going into the run.
Yeah. So on the third lap of the bike, I was getting to be really hot, feel hot, and I was already grossly dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull into the transition tent, get off the bike, so you don't have the 20-mile-an-hour wind, cooling you down a little bit. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that, oh my God, it's so hot.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but I'm watching the tracker and I see the guy in second, right? And his transition time going to make it up was 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So I yelled to you, he was 3 minutes. You need to be 2 to catch up. Just like that's an easy minute to catch on the guy. You were not that far behind him tracker wise.
Yeah.
Like he might be 10 miles into the run already, but I'm going based off of where he was at the same time when Scott's there, because they don't start at the same time. They go off of what they think their swim will be.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I get into the transition tent, and that's even hotter than outside because you're on a protected plastic thing, and I'm just baking in there. So I didn't get out in 3 minutes.
Whatever time I told him he needed to be, like, hey, the other guy was 3 minutes. He was 2 minutes slower.
Oh.
So I'm trying to get him to be a minute faster. He ended up being 2 minutes slower, and I'm like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it was So I get out of the. Can remember getting out of the transition tent and starting to run, and I ran probably a quarter of a mile, and then I just started to walk because I was so dehydrated.
Oh, man.
I needed to get water into me. I was just so hot. So
They had sponges for everybody, right? And these sponges are in ice water. Well, because it was so hot and humid, everyone took multiple sponges. And I want to say, there was none left. You might have gotten 1 or 2, but there was not a lot to go around.
No.
Right? So we're talking, he's one of the elites. He's there in the first half of the field, maybe the first third.
And
You've
if
got
there
2
were-
other thirds of people who aren't going to get these sponges or these other things to cool down.
Right.
yeah, so it was 3 loops, right? Not 4.
The bike was 3.
The run was 4 loops.
The run was 4.
Was this
Yeah.
a different part of the course?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're running through the town. A lot of people. Then you just went out to one end of the island where all the fancy hotels are, and you loop back, do the same thing. It's mostly flat except for a small incline, but that incline starts to feel.
As a spectator, what was fantastic about the run course was you could go to one of the restaurants that would have outdoor seating, and you could be sitting right outside drinking and eating and watching people run by you 10 feet away and, hey, there's Scott, go Scott. You know,
That's like a big F you to, hey, you're doing all this work and I'm sitting here drinking a beer.
I was having a great time with your brother and his family. And like I said, they treated me extremely well. And they treated me to everything.
So Eric,
I had a blast.
Yeah. So Eric and Angela, running next to me at points saying, you're doing great. You're third, or, so, but I'm shuffling.
So did you want to know that information or was it, okay.
He gave me a whiteboard.
Because I was going to say, I'm like, is it just going to stress you out at some point?
He gave me a whiteboard and I'd write things down because maybe he couldn't like process it, but he could see it.
Yeah.
I've thought about that a lot. And, at the time I certainly did want that information to be fed to me. It's one of the big reasons I had for wanting to have a Sherpa there. It's because they can feed me the time. But now with a little bit more experience, I don't know if that actually makes any difference because it really doesn't make me go any faster. I think at some points it actually has the opposite effect. So the first lap, they're telling me you're third, and then after the second lap, they're like you're fourth, and that's and that's demoralizing.
Stop, just stop telling me that. Yeah,
and I'm already picturing fifth again. So, they tell me you're at the end of the second lap. They tell me, or the third lap, they tell me you're 10 seconds behind third, 10 seconds behind third.
Oh.
So, I'm like, okay, great.
That's a gap I can work with, though.
No,
maybe.
but I can't go any faster. But I do see this guy ahead of me with a 56 or 57 on his leg. And in my mind, that's the guy who's ahead of me. So I, try and follow him. I do the run walk thing again at the food stations, and he just cruises past the food station. So he cruises by me. I see him. I walk the food station. I catch up to him. I pass him. And then it repeats at the next food station. He goes by me, and we hit the last turnaround. And at that point, I think I had to take a leak. So I just do what I had to do at that point. And he goes by me. I catch up to him again. That's when my stomach started to show serious signs of distress.
Oh, no.
What mile are we on?
Well, that was like mile 22, probably. 4 miles to go.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So after all that work, and now you're starting to get into the Code Brown situation.
Yeah, because I was way dehydrated. I didn't know it, but I was way beyond what's safe, actually. So that the stomach at that point is starting to feel messy. So I think at mile 22 is when I had my first. How do you describe it?
Code Brown.
Oh, so that's what we'll call it?
That's what we call it. Yeah, Code Brown.
Okay, so
Hashtag Code Brown.
So that's when I had my first hashtag Code Brown, but it was a reasonable Code Brown. So
let me just say this too. He just bought a brand new white and light blue triathlon suit.
Oh no! So everybody knew about your Code Brown.
No. It's white on the top, dark blue on the bottom.
Oh, so the dark blue. Okay.
Yeah, dark blue on
but
the bottom.
But it was brand new.
Yeah. So I caught up to him again, and I passed him. And then at mile 23, that's when I had the full-on Code Brown.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Number 2.
Yes. But luckily the tri suit is very tight around the legs and has the absorbent padding for
chamois, right?
for cycling.
Okay.
So it does help a little bit.
You had to run in that?
Well, it's
Yeah, you don't have to. But when you're like me,
Yeah. No, I get it.
where
Every
every
second.
second counts.
Yeah.
You don't stop and change and get into running shorts and a more comfortable thing. You're trying to you're just trying to get to the finish line as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So the guy passes me again. We get to a food station and he just keeps on going. He's not stopping at the food stations anymore. So I'm running behind him. I can see him there. And then at like mile 24.5 probably, he starts to accelerate.
Oh, come on, dude.
And I do my best to keep up with him. So I'm keeping up to him, and we're shoulder to shoulder going through the center of town. And with less than a mile to go, I just stop and I let him go because I can't go anymore. So I stop. I'm walking. At that point, we're probably like 200 yards before the final left turn to the finish chute, and I let him go.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that he only has 10 seconds ahead of me. So I let him go, and then I start running again to keep him within that 10-second time frame. And I turn down, and then take the left. There's another 100 yards to shoot, and I know that my niece and my nephew and my brother and his wife are there, and that all they want is Uncle Scott, high five, high five. And I just didn't have the energy to do it. I didn't even have the energy to acknowledge that they were there. And I pushed to the finish line. And in the previous episode, Eric mentioned the ramp. Well, there I get to the base of the ramp, and it's a ramp to cross the finish line. And I stop at the bottom of the ramp. I don't think that I can run up the ramp. So I get to the bottom of the ramp. I walk up the ramp, cross the line, and I almost fall over. I lose my balance. I take a giant step to the left. I cross the line. It's not Mike Riley, but it's just Scott Black. You're an Ironman again. And I cross the line, and I get the medal. And they say, "Do you need medical?" And I say, "No, I don't need medical." Because all I'm thinking in my head at that point is, I want to get to a porta potty.
Yeah.
Okay. So they give me my medal. I grab 2 bottles of water, and I head to the porta potty. I get into the porta potty, and I close the door, and it's dark. It's 100 degrees in there.
Oh, no.
It's 100% humidity.
Oh, gross.
I'm exhausted. I try. So I set the water bottle, one on the sides, and I'm wrestling trying to get my tri suit off, but I'm exhausted. And it's one of these things that zips up, and it's tight, and it only zips halfway down. And even when you're not tired, you have trouble getting it off. And it took me 20 minutes at least just to get the thing off. And finally get it off, and I'm wiggling this thing, just sweating.
Oh, God.
And one of the water bottles falls in.
Oh, no.
oh no,
Oh,
I'm just reeling over the fact you were in like a porta potty for 20 minutes.
oh no.
No, you weren't.
I was in there for 40 minutes.
40 minutes? Oh, my
Okay.
God.
Because
Oh, Scott, no.
yeah, because then I got to clean off the suit because
Oh, no.
it's just covered. So 40 minutes goes by. I'm baking in this thing. No, not baking. I'm dying in this thing. Okay. Trying to clean off the suit. Haven't had anything to eat. Haven't had anything to drink. Okay. Because I used the water bottle to try to rinse myself off.
Yep. Oh,
So,
no.
so finally, I think I've done a reasonable job. I get myself out of the porta potty. I go get my finisher's t-shirt. I go get a lousy slice of pizza because that's their after race meal there. A lousy slice of pizza.
Take notes after Mont Tremblant.
Now, the 40 minutes has gone by. I haven't had the massage. My legs are like stone.
Oh, my God.
Right? And there were ice baths. And I want to go and take an ice bath because the ice bath would be good for my legs.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the ice bath, and I know I'm covered with shit, okay?
Cut to the chase.
And I get into the ice bath, and the ice bath is turning yellow around me.
Oh, God.
Or brown. It was just disgusting. The guys saying stuff in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they're saying. I didn't understand, but I knew what the hell they were saying.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there trying to rinse myself a little bit better, trying to, help my sore legs. That's when Eric and my brother finally found me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at least an hour has gone by.
Oh, my gosh.
And guess who's
At that
blowing
point,
up?
I'd be worried.
Guess who's blowing up my phone? The worry work girlfriend.
Yes.
So they get me the phone, and I always say, yeah, I'm okay.
I yelled to a guy who was volunteering. I'm like, here's take the phone and give it to him. And,
right.
And
you weren't allowed in there?
No, not allowed in there, just like Mont Tremblant. And I already have, it had to be one of your daughters on the phone, but you're in the ice bath and we don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
And this guy walks it over, and you can just tell Scott's having a great time talking to someone on the phone, or at least what I think, talking to somebody, gets the phone. Oh my God, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Talks to your daughters, talks to your girlfriend. Right. I finally get the phone back. We think you're doing great.
Right.
And your brother left. He went back to the hotel.
Right. They went back to the hotel. So I'm in the ice bath. I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. Finally managed to get myself up because my legs are just wrecked. Mm-hmm. And they say, do you want a picture with your medal? I'm like, yeah. So you go this way. So they shuffle me to go get my picture taken. And that's when I started to shiver.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. And so there was a girl there who says, oh my God, you're shivering. We need to get you some electrolytes. So they hand me a bottle of Gatorade, and I drink that. Mm-hmm. And then I go wait in line for the massage because I know the massage is going to do me good. And I'm sitting there waiting for the massage, and I just had one bottle of Gatorade. I'm shivering. Finally, they get me onto the massage table, and I'm just shivering uncontrollably on the massage table, and I'm covered with shit still. Mm-hmm. So they put an aluminum space blanket over me, and they're massaging me through the space blanket.
4 of them.
Yeah.
4 people.
4.
Wow.
I mean, and they're going like both arms, forearms, rubbing him, trying to rub him, like to get him warm.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I'm only 10 feet from you now. I'm kind of able to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and nothing's working. So they call medical.
Yeah.
Medical comes over, and they say, we're going to get you over to medical, and we're going to give you an IV. So they wheeled me over to.
Well, they didn't wheel you over.
Oh, I walked over to.
No. They strapped you down on a stretcher.
Oh, I already to get to there. I was already on the stretcher.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So take me over, bring me over to the medical tent, and
I am not allowed inside the medical tent. FYI.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still shivering uncontrollably. They get the IV on me. They ask me, you're okay. They're like, so they give me one IV, and and then they say, you have to pee. And I'm like, okay. I said, I don't know if I can. That's when my bowels just released like,
oh no,
like never before. And, they had to cut my suit off.
Brand new suit.
My brand new suit.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's when they cut my suit off. So they gave me another IV, and that was probably another 45 minutes, another hour.
So about 45 minutes pass, and I'm hanging out around some fence, and I'm in between the finish line and the med tent, and there's not that much room, maybe 20 feet in between the two. And they come by and they go, "Who's looking for Scott Black?" I'm like, "That would be me." And they come over at one point, and they actually told me, "You were doing really well." They told me you had a code brown, and you're on your second IV bag, and they said you were doing really well, and it might be another 15 minutes. So we're talking an hour tops. Another 45 minutes to an hour passes, and they come back, and they told me you got worse.
Yeah. So I got worse, and they say they're going to take me to the hospital.
And I think you had a second code brown in there.
Yeah. And they said they need to give me something stronger.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the ambulance comes. He jumps in with me in the ambulance.
And we go to a Mexican ER.
So, you have this image of a Mexican ER being like some third world country ER, but it was totally the opposite.
Let me paint a picture. It looked like any normal hospital in a city in America surrounded by a third world country.
Okay.
Just like everything around it was definitely third world. But the inside of the hospital, besides being small, very clean, very white, very
Sterile.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Their experience level might not be on a par with ours, but...
Well, the attendant was from Canada. She was from Canada.
Well, they had maybe some volunteer attendants too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they get me on my third IV. So in total, I had, 4 or 5 IVs?
You had at least 5.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is so intense.
Oh, yeah. So, and, by that point, it's probably like 10 o'clock. You'd call my brother. Brad comes over. So Brad's a surgeon, so he's tingling with the IV, making sure it's flowing.
They were so busy in this ER. It was packed. I mean, we were.
Was it packed with Ironman?
Yeah. We were in better hands with Brad than with the doctors there. I watched, there were no curtains. I watched them struggle to tube somebody.
They were trying to intubate this guy, and they couldn't intubate him.
And he was passed out. He was unconscious. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm the same distance for people who don't know. Me to you right now is about 8 feet. There's basically just an 8-foot hallway in between us, and I'm watching this thing. And I don't know if you're watching it because you're out of it. But your brother's watching it, and he's like, I feel like I should go over there and do it for them.
Jesus.
He's like, I can do so much
That's terrible.
better.
Somebody needed a breathing tube. Right. It was that bad.
And then there was the room next to me. I thought that a guy might be dying. He did not die, but I thought he might be dying.
Wow.
And I'm like, you guys go take care of everyone else, because Scott, all he's doing is he has to pee every 5 minutes, and we can handle that.
Yeah, right.
You guys go save lives.
Yeah. So, they give me IV. So by then it's 10, 11 o'clock. When did I get discharged? It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. We were there. I think we got back to the hotel at 2. We missed the finish, the crowd at midnight and all that. That was definitely, we were not going to see that.
But the funny thing though is that once they discharged me at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was jumping around.
Oh, you were back to normal. Good as new.
Doing jumping jacks. Felt great. Got a couple of videos of it. Feels amazing.
That is such a gnarly experience.
So dehydrated. It was just crazy. So
you were taking in you said the food stations. You were taking in drinks, but just not the electrolytes you needed.
Not enough.
Or you must have been the deficit. You just couldn't get out of that hole.
Not enough on either.
My gosh.
I probably had to double or triple my normal intake, and no, I didn't nowhere near enough.
Oh yeah.
So
you needed those IVs.
It's the experience thing. You don't have the experience, but I gained experience on that for one of my next ones.
That is so. I feel like something that extreme, if it had happened to me, I would have to think. I'd be like, all right, do I really want to do this again? I would probably do it, yes. So that's just taking a moment to think about your decisions.
Right. So the next day is the award ceremony. Okay.
And you finished?
I finished 4th.
Okay.
Okay.
Which your family, your brother, Angela, and I were joking before because
Yeah.
it looked like you were going to get fifth. We're like, we're just going to call him Mr. Five, and we're going to get him like a birthday cake with a 5 on it, and everything's going to be 5. We'll get you a jersey. We're all going to wear, because they made T-shirts for you, like Team Black. We're all going to put number 5 on the back because that would have been 3 in a row. And then you got 4th, and we're like, so
You ruined our plans.
yeah, you ruined our plan. Okay, so we got back to the hotel around 2:00, and we went to bed. The next day, how do you feel?
I felt great. I wanted to go for a run. And yeah,
That's great.
We had fun. We were walking around. The village wasn't as Mont Tremblant-esque. You know, it basically went away, and we're just now again in Cozumel in the city. But we'd talked to some people. We met some friends who did the race and some other Americans. I decided to go for a scooter ride because I had all day into the awards ceremony. And this is when I got stranded because I was on the other side of the island. The scooter broke down. So I missed both awards ceremonies in Mont Tremblant. And I was like, well, I'll make this one because I'm already here. Our flight's the next day. We did that because we knew the awards ceremony was at night.
Okay.
So we had all day. I finally had a full day to really go explore. And I got stranded on the other side of the island. You can check that out on Instagram. But I did not make your awards ceremony.
I think you did.
Oh, I made maybe the last 20 minutes.
Okay. So, I finish 4th. I go up on stage. Again, I'm just short.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who won was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Traeger. Just just a couple of weeks earlier, he had finished second in the age group in Kona.
Mm-hmm.
So another guy who if he's racing, you're racing for second. He's one of the gentlemen. He's one of the bike racer who was killed in Las Vegas 2 years ago when someone plowed into
Oh my God.
some racers. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So for anybody who's listening, please don't text and drive, because bad things happen when you do things like that. And
That's awful.
maybe it's called an accident, but it's not an accident if you're texting.
Mm-hmm.
What was his name again?
Thomas Traeger.
That's awful. That's so sad to hear.
Right. So he took the spot, and the guy who was second took the spot, and so 3rd and 4th were left hanging.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to the hotel that night to pack, or maybe in the early morning to pack, and we run into in the hallway.
That's right.
In the hallway, as I'm packing, a guy walks by with his wife. And he's wearing the Ironman band, and I'm said, "Oh, so how was your race yesterday?" He said, "Oh, wasn't too bad. I finished 5th in my age group." I'm like, "Oh, what age group?" He goes, 55, 59. I'm like, "I finished 4th. I thought I was chasing you all day." So the guy who finished 10 seconds behind me, okay.
So he was chasing you.
Yes, but you don't on the course.
You have no idea.
Since you start at different times, you don't know.
Mm.
But so he finished just 10 seconds behind me.
Wow.
Yeah. Coincidentally, back in 2014, when I did my very first half Ironman, he's the guy who won the age group.
Wow.
He was a Massachusetts guy, right?
He was a Massachusetts guy.
Yeah.
Small world.
We took the bus back with him.
Yeah, he paid for part of our bus trip.
I know, because we couldn't find our money or
no,
something.
we had no cash.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we're going to take a bus, like a coach bus, right? And you could pay with a card or something. Well, right outside the bus station are all these guys, take the van, I'll give you a van ride, and it's $300. It's like, no, $200. No. Right? You wanted to take the bus because you wanted to ride with him, the guy who finished in 5th, and talk Ironman the whole time because you both got the bug. And me and his wife were just there like, You're right. He had to pay because we didn't have any cash.
Well, we didn't have enough cash. He had to forward like $10 or something like that.
I feel like it was more,
or maybe it's
that.
$20.
I feel like he paid like $200.
No,
and we paid like $50.
Oh, maybe that makes the story better. I'm sorry. I should have let you. $1,000. Yeah. So there you go. Cozumel is I was short again. So after Cozumel, I actually promised my girlfriend again that I wouldn't do a race in the summer. So
That's smart.
So that we'd have our summer. So I began looking for a race that would be at the very beginning of the summer or at the end of spring, so that I could train during the winter, and maybe have the hope, if I didn't qualify for Kona, of maybe doing one just at the end of the summer, because now I know I can do 2 within 8 weeks or 10 weeks.
And we are going to talk about that on the next episode. I want to say one thing, though. Your girlfriend, when you were in the hospital, you remember telling me, do not tell her about this. And you already got to talk to her in the ice bath. But I think it was Angela who spilled the beans.
Yeah, probably.
And she was a mess. Calling Angela, all of a sudden calling me, why aren't you telling me where Scott is? I haven't talked to him. Why haven't I talked to him? Because you two do talk a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I am like ignoring the phone calls, not texting. Oh, Scott's, yeah, he's getting a massage. He's fine, because he's like, do not tell her.
All right, welcome back. Cozumel was awesome. I loved it there, as you could tell. There might have been a lot more in that episode if you go back and listen to number 19 about how much fun I had there and about getting stuck on the island. I got stuck on the island. My scooter broke down. I was on the other side of the island. I was abandoned. It was wild and crazy. I really tried to talk Scott into going back, but he chose Norway. And you're not going to hear Norway in this episode, in this recap. If you want, you can go back. He went to Norway and tried there, raced through an epic thunderstorm, had quite the story. Then he went to Texas, and actually Texas never happened, but he was training for Texas, and he was about a month out, and then COVID happened. So then of all the deferrals, he thinks he's going to Maryland, he thinks he's going to a few other places. He ends up going to Corde, Idaho. I'm pretty sure it's Idaho. Coeur d'Alene's in Idaho, right, Scott? All right, sure. We'll figure that one out. Scott was in great shape. He was healthy. He was feeling good. There's a lot of Kona slots available because of the whole COVID deal. And, I'll say it here because I don't know if you're going to hear it. He flew out there and he got sick on the airplane. And boy, did it put Kona on the line. He got there. He didn't even know if he was going to race. So check out this story of one of the most hottest days in Ironman history and trying to do it with bronchitis.
So June is coming up, and I am in the best shape that I've ever been in, by far. It could very well been all those 14-day quarantines because I was so bored.
What else are you going to do? Just work out.
I was doing 2-3 hour bike rides every day.
Every day?
Every day. All right.
How? Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, 5 days, five out of 6 days, and then on the weekend I do a long bike
That doesn't
ride.
even matter. You're doing 2-a-days. That's tough to do
right.
anyways.
So I was doing 20-hour bike weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. I was.
That's a part-time job. It literally is a part-time job.
Yeah. So.
You were Kona ready.
Dude, I was Kona ready. I was ready for it. And I was.
So what happened?
I was going to Kona. All right. Because on top of it, because of the pandemic and the sparsity of races, Ironman had all these slots that they needed to fill. So they started adding available slots to the races.
Oh, so you were like, I'm a shoo-in. So at what point, you could have finished 5th again and you still would have gotten a spot, or is that stretching it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So
you're like, all right, wash my hands of this.
Right. So going into Corde, I knew if I finished, I pretty much knew that I would be, I'd be qualifying.
That is a chef's kiss.
Okay. Right. Okay.
There's a but.
But.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. All right. Go for it.
So you heard earlier the argument. It's like, did you drive me to the airport this time? He's like, no, that wasn't me. That was your daughter. Okay. So for Corde, Eric says, hey, I'll drive you to the airport in the morning. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, my flight's at 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, I don't want to get up at 2:00 in the morning and have Eric drive me. So I'm talking it over with him, and I'm like, you know what?
I think I talked you into it.
Oh, you talked me
into it.
Yeah,
because I kind of got the blame for this after.
Right. I'm like, I'm just going to go sleep at the airport. Okay. So
Airport hotel.
Yeah. So
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, no way, you're just sleeping at the airport.
So I book a room at the hotel at the Hilton, right at the airport.
You just walk. You don't even go outside. You just walk right into the airport.
Really?
Oh,
This is Logan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, it could have been Manchester, of course.
Well, there's no. Yeah, I know it's not that close, but I figured. Okay.
So Eric, drives me to the airport, and I say goodbye to him and wishes me good luck.
Again, another race I can't go to just because of the timing of the year.
Right, wait. He helps me bring my stuff up into my room, and I walk him back down. Everybody's wearing masks because it's full COVID.
Yep.
I say goodbye, takes off, and I have the worst night. I just couldn't sleep, felt off.
Oh no.
Just not right.
Oh no.
All right. So, I carefully planned this trip, and it's a long trip to get to Idaho. There are no direct flights. I'm like, I didn't book what Southwest recommended. I'm like, I'm going to leave early. I'm going to land in Colorado, in Denver. I'm going to go to a gym. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a bike ride in the gym. It'll be great. I'll break up the trip. On top of that, it's 6,000 feet. It's going to be awesome. I just want to see what it's like. It'll be great. So I get to Denver, hop on the train, take a Uber, get to a Planet Fitness. Just wanted to do an easy 1 hour Zone 1 ride. And it was the hardest Zone 1 ride I've ever had. I was so hot, sweating, and I put it off on the altitude, mile high. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go for a run.
No. So
hop on the flight to Idaho, get to Coeur d'Alene, try and sleep that night. Felt like total crap again. Woke up the next morning, and I'm like, I got to go to the hospital.
It was that bad?
It was that bad.
Oh, no.
It was that bad. My throat felt like you couldn't even put a straw through it. So I go to the walk-in emergency center. And strangely enough, they didn't test me for COVID, but the doctor said that you have bronchitis. I'm like, how long does it take to get over bronchitis? He goes, well, it depends, And it's like, but I have a race this weekend. I'm here for the Ironman race. He's like, well, just see how you feel on Saturday. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm like, I got to go do my swim. Bad idea. So I think I swam 20 minutes and I couldn't breathe.
Oh, no.
Okay, so that's Wednesday. Thursday, don't do anything at all. Okay. Friday, I go out for a small run, and it's just like impossible. So at that point, I'm thinking like, it's not going to happen. My brother comes in, they drive from Oregon, and I'm telling them that I'm sick, and they're like, oh no. And
my reaction.
Right.
Like, no.
So Saturday, I'm feeling a little bit better. All right. A little bit better. So I go out and try and do some 20 second, sprints to activate the legs, get things moving a little bit. And I just felt like crap. All right. So I start the race on Sunday, and I have bronchitis.
Wow.
And all that medication does stuff to your stomach too. So
This is just not turning out the way you had wanted.
Right.
Not at all.
Kona was a shoo-in.
On top of on top of it, okay, for the week before the race, they're saying it's going to be hot in Corde. It's going to be hot.
What else are they going to throw at you, Scott? What else?
Turns out on race day it was 104.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, it was
hell?
104.
So 104 degrees.
This
you have bronchitis.
This race had the highest percentage dropout race of any Ironman race before. I think it was like,
God, even over like Cozumel.
28%.
Wow.
Dropout. It was. I'll get back to the heat, but yeah, it was hot. So I get to the start line. I get in the water.
Mm-hmm.
The water was another one of an Australian swim. So you do a loop, run out onto the beach, and then do the loop again.
Okay.
Like the first lap, I couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
In the water, and halfway through the second loop, I'm like, my stomach is like, hey, buddy.
Oh, no.
Remember me?
Do I?
Remember me?
How can I forget?
And I'm like, I can't go in the wetsuit, because if I do, I have to stop the race because I don't have another dry suit to change into.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out of the water and I sprint to the porta potty, just barely make it.
Mm-hmm.
Just barely make it. And it wasn't a fast transition either.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out of the transition onto the bike, and it's time to get to work. By now everybody kind of knows my the way I operate is I'm behind in the swim and catch up on the bike, and then hold on the run. And Corde is a hard bike. There's a couple of really long climbs. I think it's like 6,000 or 7,000 feet of
oh my gosh.
of climbing. It's a hard race.
But you get the reward, like we spoke about earlier.
But you get some nice downhills.
Okay. Some rest.
You do get some rest. And I've my very first Ironman, I pedaled as hard as I could down the hills.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've learned a little bit, save the legs, maybe coast down the hills and just pedal a little bit once in a while to keep the speed up. But, once I hit like maybe 30 miles an hour, it takes a lot of effort to go faster. So you just save the energy. But so I'm picking people off left and right on the bike ride. I'm feeling really good on the first loop. There's on the biggest downhill section, there's a no pass zone because it's dangerous and you're right up against cars on the highway.
Oh.
Yeah. Not the safest place. And they did have a couple of accidents there with some people getting hurt pretty bad. But, I finished the second loop, and then I'm one of amongst the first people. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the first loop, it's starting to get hot. And you turn around, go back through town, and then you have to go through the hills again. And you go over this valley at one point. Mm-hmm. The wind is blowing up the valley, and it's like a blast furnace. It was just so hot. I could feel the moisture out of my sucked right out of my lips.
God.
Right? But I had learned from Cozumel that you really have to overhydrate and take more salt. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling pretty good. So I finished the bike, and coming off the bike, I'm in third place again. But by then it's 104 degrees.
That's rough. That is so rough.
And that's the air temperature. The road is probably...
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
It's just radiating off the road. It was just brutal. I can't even describe it. It was I was listening to people talking about it today on TV, comparing Saturday's race to what it was like going to be like in Corde. And it was just, he said, it was 1,000,000 degrees.
It may as well have been, right?
It was just so hot. So there was a lot of support, and then people out there with hoses.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I ran the whole race completely soaked, because every station, front and back, in the shoes, spraying as much as you can. Mm-hmm. But it was so hot that you would dry up in between the stations. It was insane. So this was a 3-loop, and again, up until like mile 20 went fine. And then the heat, I mean, everybody was the same. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just people dropping out, sitting on the side of the road in the shade, ambulances picking people up. It was just crazy. And I hadn't walked until mile 20. And then I started walking. Mm-hmm. I did skip the point, which was the highlight of my race, when I caught, passed, and dropped the number 1 rated pro who was walking at the time.
Oh,
drop the name.
When I caught, passed, and dropped Lionel Sanders on the run. Yeah,
Lionel.
He had a hard day.
Was his buddy there?
Talbot was there.
Yeah. Did he get it on video? Did he get you dropping him?
No, he didn't get me dropping him, but Talbot was there. Yeah.
He's a big Talbot Cox fan. Mm-hmm. And Talbot was at Cozumel when we were at Cozumel. He was at Ironman Mont Tremblant when we were there the second time. And I met him and got a picture. And, he sent you a little good luck video too there.
Yeah, they're all big time now. They wouldn't talk to you anymore.
He was an up and coming at the time.
Sorry, I love that.
Guess what?
Even as a fellow podcaster, he wouldn't talk to you.
Hey,
they won't talk to you anymore.
I'm on the rise.
You're on the rise.
I'm on the rise.
Yeah,
we're gonna be big time.
We'll be the next Bob Babbitt. Breakfast with E&E. Breakfast with Eric.
E squared.
Yeah.
E squared.
Yeah. So, but I was still holding in like 3rd or 4th position until like mile 23, where I literally walked for like a mile. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was tough and dark, but I knew that as long as I finished,
there you go.
I was going.
That's nice. Having that in the back of your mind, that's always like, all right, this isn't for nothing.
I was so baked when I came down the finish chute again. Mm-hmm. That poor Georgie and Spencer are still there on the side, looking for their high fives. Uncle Scott. And I just wanted to cross that finish line so bad, because it was just so brutally hot. And you cross the finish line. Okay, I'm an Ironman again, but there was no massage.
Really?
Because of COVID.
COVID just ruins everything.
Yeah. So.
How rude.
But, how bad the bronchitis affected me, you don't know. But I crossed the line in 6th. So I was quite disappointed because I was off the podium for the first time.
Yeah.
But, the next day, the award ceremony, so I didn't get to go up, but then they have the roll down, and the first guy had already qualified, so he didn't take his spot. And the second guy took his spot. Third guy didn't want it. The fourth guy didn't want it.
No way.
The fifth guy took it, and all I needed was that one extra spot at 6.
Oh my gosh.
So, Mike Raleigh, okay, Scott Black, number 6. So you want your spot? I'm like, I stood up and I was like, yes, I'm going to Kona, baby.
Yes.
And he's like, have you ever been there? And I'm like, no. He's like, don't worry. There are no hills and it's not hot. Yeah. So.
Is that a total lie? That's got to be a total lie.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, there it is. The Road to Kona recap episode. Next week, you're going to hear part 4. You know he's going to Kona, so this is going to be pretty great. And like I said earlier, there may or may not have been a 911 call. There may or may have not have been multiple code browns. He may or may not have gone in there thinking he has a chance at a top 5. I am extra bummed now that I didn't get to go. So, yeah, I didn't get to go. I had the ticket. He was going to pay for my flight out there, but responsibilities, man. So thanks everyone for listening to this recap episode. We'll see you next week. Hope everyone's enjoying July. Like I said, I'm on like a month-long vacation, so I'm having a blast. Came home just to record these quick clips for you guys. We'll talk soon. And like Erica would say,
we love you, and don't forget to stretch.